Is Harrison Bailey going to be the Florida Gators' next backup quarterback?
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And I am Brandon Olson. Happy Friday. Hope you have a great one. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5, get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. And it was reported yesterday by, I believe it was on 3, that transfer portal quarterback Harrison Bailey out of Louisville was going to throw for the coaching staff yesterday, and if that went well, then they would have him visit this weekend. And the Florida Gators are, of course, still looking into the transfer portal for a quarterback because of the Sean Purdy situation, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But Harrison Bailey was a former 4-star quarterback from Marietta, Georgia, went to Tennessee, then transferred to UNLV, then transferred to Louisville, where he was the backup this year. He was at Louisville for 2 years. He was the backup both times. But this year he was behind Tyler Shuck, who is another guy that transferred like 40,000 times. And Harrison Bailey started in the bowl game for Louisville against Washington. And yesterday I sent a message to the Insider program, which the link's in the description below if you want to join that. But I sent a mini scouting report, basically, from the bowl game to the Insider group, where there's things to like about Harrison Bailey. There's things to not like. Like, he looked for the deep ball quite a bit early on, and when it wasn't working, he kind of went away from it. Washington's defense was also, we're blitzing or dropping 8. Like they were very hot and cold, bipolar defense there. They weren't really rushing for dropping 7 too frequently. It was usually we're going to blitz or we're going to drop 8 and try to make you make a mistake there. And when the deep ball wasn't working for him, he eventually backed away from it, right? He went to it twice on one drive, then didn't go to it again for a long while after it wasn't working early on. But yeah, couldn't really find a rhythm with that one. As far as how he handles pressure goes, I don't know if he's just completely oblivious to pressure or if he's just really calm under pressure, because there were a couple of times where defense felt like they were rushing in and he was getting at least, 2 hands on him. But he just stood there and made the throw. And part of that, to me, is, I guess we'll say it's two-pronged, right? As far as handling the pressure itself and being unfazed to throw it, that's great. I also genuinely have no idea if he knew the pressure was coming in, because it felt like quite a few times he just didn't really feel it. Like he just didn't feel the pressure coming in. Not that he, felt it and shifted a little bit or stepped up. It seemed like he just genuinely had no idea where the hell it was coming from, if it was coming at all. So there's that, but also there were very few times, maybe just once, where he made a play with his legs. And I mean genuinely made the play with his legs. And it doesn't seem like he's very creative as far as escaping the pocket, extending plays, and then looking for the throw. There was the one play he made with his legs it looked like it was an RPO, and he was supposed to have the tight end in the flat, but the way that the edge defender pursued it completely took away the tight end and closed the gap on Harrison Bailey. And so he just ran up for like 10, 15 yards. It was a great play. It really was. But that was kind of the only time we saw him be an athlete. And he's got like testing times. I think it was on 24/7. He runs like a 4.8, 5.40, so he's not fast. Shuttle wasn't great. None of the testing numbers were great, which is fine. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying that if you're a bad athlete, you're a bad quarterback. However, it does bring up the point that this is potentially, once again, a stylistically different backup than your starter. And I will say also for Florida, it's hard for me to really fault whoever you bring in at this point. Like, it would be nice for Harrison Bailey. He's been in college for what, 5-6 years now? So it'd be nice to have someone with that level of experience in your quarterback room, where it's a very young quarterback room, a very inexperienced quarterback room. He's not spectacular, it doesn't move me, but also, again, you're never going to find an awesome option in the transfer portal right now for the Florida Gators. Like, it's just not going to happen. We've talked about this for over a month now. We talked about this before Deshaun Purdy committed to Florida. And now that Deshaun Purdy's gone, it's tough. Like, before Deshaun Purdy committed to Florida, it was, hey, you're not getting a 2024 blue chip and you're not getting a starter quality backup because they're not going to come here and back up DJ Lagway for the next 2 years. Minimum. That's a big difference. Like, people keep mentioning Aaron Noland whenever I say that. Aaron Noland went to South Carolina, where he's going to back up Lenora Sellers for 1 year minimum. There's at least a chance that you get a starting job after that. Makes sense. But not so much here. But also, when you were looking for someone, Deshaun Purdy came in, committed, and a little while after that, Deshaun Purdy leaves the transfer class, the portal class for Florida. And that hurts you a lot just because you missed on not many great quarterbacks, but you missed on potential quarterbacks that you could have brought in had you not brought in Deshaun Purdy. Like, had you never brought in Deshaun Purdy, or had he not committed to you, you could have been looking at other options. But once Deshaun Purdy committed, you were pretty much like, all right, well, we got our guy, right? We're good. Then that backfired. So at this point in the portal game, you're not getting a good backup quarterback. I don't think they exist right now for Florida's situation. But as far as Harrison Bailey goes, he's an option that I can live with and I can accept. Doesn't move me, but I'm not mad about the addition, right? So if the Florida Gators like the throwing, if they have him for a visit, if they get him for a commitment, I'm cool with it. Like, you get an experienced backup quarterback. That's what you need. And yeah, he's not been or never been a starting quarterback, but he's been in college for 5 years. That's what I mean with the experience. I don't need you to have, 1,000 passes attempted, because if you've got, 1,000 passes attempted and you're still looking to be a backup quarterback, odds are you're not going to be one, right? You're not going to be a successful quarterback. Harrison Bailey doesn't have a ton of snaps, but he's been in college, and that's what I'm looking for. That veteran presence around you, that's what we're looking for. Someone that can come in, keep an offense relatively on schedule, which he did against Washington in the bowl game. Keep an offense on schedule, not take big negative plays. Move forward, call it a day. And so for the Florida Gators, if you land Harrison Bailey, if he's the guy, then he's the guy, and I'm cool with it. The Florida Gators also yesterday extended an assistant coach. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Gators. This message is brought to you by Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prize Picks has changed the game of daily fantasy sports. I mean, whether it's playoffs or regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all of the football action. And now that it's playoff time and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players. And if your picks hit, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right. Up to 1,000 times your cash. I did not misspeak there. Okay? Nail it by just making a few simple picks. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, didn't misspeak. You don't need to win. $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And yesterday it was announced that Florida Gators running back coach Jabbar Juluke signed a 2-year contract extension. And as far as the 2-year length, that is the standard that the Florida Gators, or at least that Billy Napier, has given all of his assistants. It kind of helps when you're trying to track whose contract expires when. Just look at when they were hired. 2 years? Great. If it's been 4 years, they've had 2 contracts go. It's easy math right there. It's how Billy Napier has always given his assistants contract extensions, 2-year cycles, essentially. As far as extending Jabbar Juluke personally, I know that there are some Florida Gators fans in the fan base that when they see Jabbar Juluke, they don't see him as a needle mover. They don't see him as a great running backs coach. They don't see him as a great recruiter. And I think he's done an awesome job. I'm not going to lie to you. We talked about this a week or 2 ago with Jabbar Juluke specifically, where I don't care about him not landing the 5-star running backs, right? Like, Florida hasn't brought in 5-star running backs under him. They also haven't super heavily pursued most of them, right? So it's not like he's really pushing for these 5 stars and not landing any of them. It's that they're not going all out for these 5-star running backs. Part of it because they don't have to, right? Like, they haven't missed on a back yet, right? Trayon Webb's to be determined. Looked good before he got hurt this year, but looked good before then. So we'll say to be determined. KD Daniels, to be determined. Didn't play, but did have sick touchdown against Tulane in the bowl game. So there's those 2. But outside of that, I mean, again, I've said this so many times. You can go back to Louisiana. You can go back to Louisiana for Jabbar Juluke and recognize that, hey, you were the running back coach when they had 3 NFL running backs on the roster. At one time, Louisiana had 3 NFL running backs on the roster. I can't think of another G5 school that's done that since then. And not just on the roster, but playing, participating, contributing all at once. It's not like it went in waves of like, oh yeah, well, we got this guy and then this guy and then this guy. One's a senior, one's a sophomore, one's a true freshman. It's not even like that. They were all contributing and all playing. Trey Ragas, Raymond Calais, and Elijah Mitchell were all there. All playing. All getting significant playing time. At the same time, at Louisiana. That's impressive as hell, okay? You look at who Jabbar Juluke's brought in since then. Trevor Etienne, hell of a back, right? He was great. I don't care what people say about the pass blocking thing. I think, one of the first people to bring up the pass blocking, and I don't crush him as much for it as other people do, okay? It's bad that he can't pass block. That's probably going to hurt him with NFL teams. It makes him a worse running back. It does not make him a bad running back. I want to make that one clear. Montreal Johnson was at Louisiana, came over with him. Great addition there. Jaden Baugh this past year, hell of a back he is. So, yeah, he may not be bringing in 5-star after 5-star, but he's not missed on a back yet. Pretty good, right? And then this year, of course, you brought in 3 running backs, and I know Byron Lewis was tweeting yesterday celebrating the Jabbar Juluke contract extension, rightfully so again. As far as the other Florida Gators coaches that are with expiring contracts at the end of this month, there are 4, and I've said before, like, if none of them come back, I'm not going to be too broken up about it. Tyler Miles, the strength conditioning coach, is the one guy who has a contract expiring this January that I look at and I'm like, well, I don't have an opinion of him. For a couple of reasons. One, he's an off-field coach. Yeah, we could see strength and conditioning. We could see how these guys handle contact. But to know what extent is him and what isn't, who's to really say about that? Or at least from my perspective, I can't really say that. Like, the injuries, I don't know if that was a him fault, a strength and conditioning fault. Like, Devin Moore got hurt getting hit. Not faulting him for that, right? So there's certain things where I just can't fault him for it. Also, it was him running Craig Fitzgerald's program. how am I going to give you a plus or a minus if you were using Craig Fitzgerald's program? So I just can't have an opinion on him right now. But again, that's not saying that I need him back. It's saying, hey, if he's back, he's back. If he's not, he's not. As far as the other on-field coaches, there's Rob Sale, co-offensive coordinator, offensive line coach. I am very cool with him leaving. He is an outlier, by the way, in the sense that Rob Sale, when he signed a contract extension, only signed a 1-year contract extension, which is telling, I think, at least. Because Rob Sale had a 2-year contract expire last year, signed a 1-year extension. Everybody else that signed an extension has been a 2-year extension. So we can look into this however you want to look into it. We could say, hey, you knew that Rob Sale was going to come back for 1 more year and then get the boot if things didn't improve. You could say that he was given a 1-year extension to try to brighten his NFL hopes. You know, hey, 1 more year, offensive line improves, you'll get an offer. You could say that Billy Napier was like, hey, I'm giving you a 1-year extension. Get your stuff together, or you will not be extended again. Could be anyway. How do I put this for the offensive line? They have missed on recruits. Yeah, the offensive line staff has missed on recruits, and it's really telling, I think, for any position. When you see a player portal out, where they go after that is really telling. I think if they portal out after their first year as well, it's also really telling where they portal out to for the evaluation, at least. Like, you got guys who come here for a year, portal out, and then go to an FCS school. And it's like, well, you really whiffed on that evaluation then. If the fact that you couldn't even get an FBS program like near your home or anything wasn't interested, or an FBS program that was recruiting you last year, that's really telling to me. And I think when you look at the offensive line, you've seen a lot of guys that have gone the G5 route after leaving Florida. I think it's telling. Billy Gonzales, a wide receiver, I get it. A lot of people love Billy Gonzales for what he's done throughout his career. It's been an incredible career. If he comes back, I won't be mad, but I do think it's a position you can upgrade. Okay. You're not getting these recruits that you're getting because of him. You haven't had enough of them produce early on. And we keep talking about these guys of, oh, well, I think this guy's going to break out this year. I think this guy's going to break out this year. And it hasn't really happened at receiver. Does make me question some things. A lot of it's, the potential and the speed. We haven't seen the production yet. That bothers me. And the fact that every year you bring in portal wide receivers and they end up becoming your best wide receivers bothers me. Again, Mike Peterson is the final coach, who's the edge coach, who I've said before, I just don't see it. I'm going to be honest. You haven't had good, consistent pass rush from your edge room at all. Great that they can defend the run, but you haven't had good, consistent pass rush from your edge room, and that's the most important thing for them to do. And you've had multiple guys leave and then go have really productive years off the edge, and that a little damning. I'm not going to lie. That's a little damning, at least, for me, at least. But we'll see. We'll keep you posted whenever we get news or updates on them. And the Florida Gators received a recruiting prediction machine pick, an RPM pick. I don't know how they say it over there, but we'll talk about that next on Locked On Gators. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. FanDuel app's easy to navigate, and like I've told you before, during a playoff game, I love watching the playoff game and going like, all right, this is how they're attacking. So I'm going to bet this guy to catch a pass. With the Rams, it was Tyler Higbee until he got hurt. I can't remember the game it was. Whatever game was the day before that, like one of the Sunday games last week. I was just betting 10 rushing yards, 10 rushing yards, 10 rushing yards. Josh Allen, I was betting 5 rushing yards every drive, and it cashed a couple times with plus odds. It's pretty beautiful. Just visit FanDuel.com to win today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators, we are going to talk about a RPM pick, recruiting prediction machine pick, that the Florida Gators got yesterday as well from Steve Wiltfong. So Fong Bomb, whatever you want to call it. And they put in a pick for 4-star linebacker Malik Morris out of Lakeland, so in-state, in the area. Very good athlete at linebacker that also plays running back, which, I mean, I feel like every time we've heard, hey, he's a linebacker and a running back, I feel like it works out a good bit of the time. Right. And obviously there's some guys who did it at exceptional levels, and one guy that played both sides of the ball for a little bit with Miles Jack, who was very productive as a running back and linebacker for UCLA. But I feel like when we talk about a linebacker that also plays running back, they usually are pretty good. And they've kind of got some similar traits, because obviously those traits are positions go at each other all the time. Linebackers and running backs go to war every play. And I feel like those traits, a lot of it, we go, oh yeah, fast, explosive, aggressive as hell. Like those are the 3 things that with every linebacker that plays running back, those are the 3 traits you always hear. I mean, with Miles Graham, that was a huge selling point for him, right? It was, hey, he's fast, he's explosive, he's aggressive as hell. Just send him downhill and he can make an impact early. And he did, by the way. Malik Morris could do that as well. Track and field athlete, throws a discus. I don't know if that, I know throwing a discus is the verb. Is he a discus thrower? Is that the noun for him? Maybe. But he kind of fits the Florida Gators recruiting model, right? If you are a high school athlete, play both sides of the ball, or you play multiple sports, bonus points if you do both, which Malik Morris does. Just saying, bonus points. Then the Florida Gators are going to recruit you. And it's not surprising because the Florida Gators have, especially under Billy Napier, taken the approach of, I am going to take elite athletes and kind of just figure out the rest later. That's what they do. With basically every position, they go for elite athletes, dual sport, multi-sport athletes, play multiple positions if possible, and they want to add you to the roster and figure out anything else later. They're like, hey, as long as we work on your development, we'll be fine. But we're going to take the traits that we can't teach and then try to teach you the things we can. It's a great strategy. It's how a lot of teams practice and operate. It's just a matter of you need to nail the development part of this. And right now for the Florida Gators, I think at linebacker, they've done a pretty good job, right? Shamar James has been a 3-year contributor, we'll say, because he didn't start his first year. But Shamar James has been a 3-year contributor, been a menace all 3 years when he's on the field. Now, NFL, Senior Bowl, going to be drafted after 3 years. Hell of a start to your career there. I'm not going to give them credit for Pup Howard only because he's been here 1 year and he was a damn good player as a true freshman when he was at South Carolina, just didn't play a ton there. But Jaden Robinson is someone that he was a safety that kind of played linebacker that the Florida Gators went and recruited and brought him in, and they've developed him to be a damn good linebacker so far. He was arguably your second best linebacker last year. He was arguably your best coverage linebacker last year. So you got Jaden Robinson. Look at last year. Miles Graham, Aiden Childs. Both damn good linebackers. Crazy athletic. Childs, it looks like they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. He played off the edge a bit. He played off ball. I don't know if they intend on moving him around more or if they intend on making him just hey, you're just a linebacker, whether it's on ball, off ball. We'll figure it out depending on the situation, which is a fine approach to have that Swiss Army knife kind of guy. Great to have that. But Malik Morris could play, I think, any off-ball linebacker spot, whether you want him blitzing, whether you want him spy. I mean, he's going to be the kind of guy where it's like, yeah, if you want to put him in a spy and just neutralize a QB, you could do that. I think he's got that kind of athleticism and that kind of on-field athleticism. But he's got offers from just about every SEC program, including long-standing offers from Georgia, Texas A&M, Kentucky. Like, he's got offers, and I know Kentucky is not exactly the most prestigious program, but all three of those programs have produced NFL linebackers in recent years. There's a reason I mentioned them, and all three of the coaching staffs will say as well, because Texas A&M had the coaching staff change. So all three of those coaching staffs, all three of those programs have produced NFL draft picks at linebacker. Pretty damn good. And Malik Morris, if he commits to the Florida Gators, would be an elite addition to the Florida Gators 2026 class. Like right now, that class has quarterback Will Griffin, corner Jalen Waters, safety Devin Jackson. You can add Malik Morris to that, and specifically on the defensive side of the ball, and you're looking at an elite defensive class to start off. Obviously, you've got a ton of work to do, more premium positions to add. But for the starting point, that'd be one hell of a starting point. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk more Florida Gators. Ooh, we won't be back tomorrow. Sorry. That's a lie. I lied. That's on me. We'll be back next time. Talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.